Toastmasters and guests.
Good evening.
How's everyone feeling today?
Great.
Awesome. So welcome to meeting number 1315. Before we begin, I will ask you to keep a few things in mind. One, please make sure you're mindful about what you say so you don't hurt or offend others. Two, for the people who are in this room, please keep your masks on unless you're up here on stage talking. For those of you who are offline, please make sure your device is on mute. And for those of you who are here, please turn your phones and keep them on silent mode. I will give you 10 seconds to keep your phones on silent mode. The theme for today's meeting is finding important things in your life doesn't mean that you have to give up all the other important things. Now, this is something I really struggle with. I think all of us can relate to this because it's part of adulthood. Managing all the important things in your life. Because when you're an adult, you suddenly have a lot of things to juggle. You have a lot of things that are urgent, you have a lot of priorities in your life, and you still have to make space for each important thing. And you can't just prioritize one thing. A lot of people find weird ways to do this. It reminds me of this time when I was stuck in a traffic jam in Bangalore, and I saw this person in a car next to me brushing his teeth. Now, I know that he had a lot of things to manage that morning. He was probably running late for a meeting, and he somehow found some way to squeeze in personal hygiene. But it's indicative of how all of us are finding this to be a challenge, managing the important things in our life. For some people, it's effortless. And I know that, the next person on stage makes things look easy. Our president, Hannah Victoria, has a lot of responsibilities, but somehow she manages to make everything run on time and run smoothly. So I'm really looking forward to hear Hannah speak about this topic. Hannah, up to you.
A very good evening to each one of you here. Thank you, Toastmaster Chaitra, for the introduction. I now declare meeting number 1315 open. A very warm welcome to all our guests and our special welcome to DTM Rajdeep, who is coming to our meeting today as the general evaluator. Toastmasters, the Bangalore Toastmasters Club, is a community club where we get to learn experiences right from an 18-year-old to a 72-year-old. We are the second largest and the second oldest club in across 800 clubs in India. If you'd like to know more about Toastmasters, during the break you can please contact our Vice President membership team represented by Toastmaster Chirant. Toastmaster Chirant, if you can please stand. Yes, you can always ask your doubts with him. Members, how do we welcome our guests? May I now call upon our Toastmaster Kirtana, our secretary. Please present present the minutes of the meeting 1314.
Thank you, President Hannah. The previous meeting theme, number 1314, themed Dare to Do, and the word of the day was innate. It means inborn or natural. This meeting was started right on time at 6:30 by our Sergeant-at-Arms, Toastmaster Chandra, and it was later handed over to our President, who gave the presidential speech, post which our enthusiastic Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Manjunath, connected each segment with his lovely energy. Instead of the prepared speeches last week, we had a table topics marathon. It was conducted by the table topic master, Toastmaster Alan Arana. The table topics started as a story, and each speaker gave their own perspective, and it ended with Toastmaster Vivek, ending it with how peace is given to us from Indian Army. After the break, we had an education session on the art of writing an effective speech by Toastmaster Sherian Thomas. After that, we had the general evaluation session conducted by DTM Rajdeep. He always blows us away with his wit and humor. It was helped by the Tiger team, Toastmaster Rajana, Toastmaster Vaidyanathan, Toastmaster Puneeth, and Toastmaster Richard. We had the awardees as Best Tiger Team Player, Toastmaster Vaidyanathan, Best Role Taker, Toastmaster Manjunath, and the table topic speakers had 3 awards. The first place goes to Toastmaster Alok, and the second place was a tie between Toastmaster Vaidyanathan and Toastmaster Chiran. We had a total of attendees 57, members were 25, and guests were 32. Back to the President.
Today we celebrate Women's Day in our club. The former CEO of PepsiCo, Indra Nooyi, she says women can't have it all. We have to have trade-offs in our lives. Another very successful woman, Priyanka Chopra, she says, be greedy. Be greedy for everything, a career, a family, friends, a second career. Both of them are right in their own perspectives. But today I'd like to take the opportunity on Women's Day to thank the men folk in our lives. The men provide us a very good support system. Each woman here or anywhere across the world, if they have made it to either successful career or even at home, there is a very strong support system which the men are equally part of. The men are a pillar of strength for the women and pillar of strength for their family, for their parents, children. So I'd like to thank the men who are an integral part of our success. Every success we have, every failure we have also is our better halves are equally involved. Moving forward, the theme of today is, if you want to find one important thing, it's not necessary to leave other important things. I have given you many personal stories about my husband, my boss, one who is a good friend, and the other I respect most. Today I will speak to you about a little Missy. She's of 14 years old, she's in the 8th standard. And for an 8th standard girl, her prime objective and prime thing is studies. But when she was 4 years old, her parents put her into swimming classes, so she started swimming. After 1 year, her coach said, "Why doesn't she do on the weekdays?"
her parents couldn't comprehend something like that. It was just studies in the parents' head. But after another year, that bubble broke and the parents said, okay, let her do her evening swimming. After another year, her coach said she can join even in the morning batch. So every day, 6 days a week, she has to swim. Now she is doing that. So along with her studies, her sports, another important part is taken care. On the weekends, she learns her piano. Over 6 years ago, she started learning her piano, and now she's in her 6th grade. Before she was practicing very diligently, now she's a bit overconfident. She just practices just before her session. So, a third part of her overall development, that is music, she's given it time. She also does, on the weekends, she learns a foreign language. My friends, if a 14-year-old can make time for these many things, and she's not a prodigy, she's just a normal kid, maybe just an above average kid, but she is making the effort of utilizing her time well. What I'd like to say is each one of us also have the time. It's not that time we will find time, we need to make the time for important things. Toastmasters is another very important aspect of our lives. It helps us grow. Personally, it helps us grow. Indra Louise says that you cannot invest enough on communication. So friends, there is time for everything. Everything important in life, you do have time. Moving forward, I'd like to introduce to you the Toastmaster of today. This Toastmaster is a very enthusiastic Toastmaster. A young girl. How many of you came for the induction ceremony? Okay. When she came for the induction ceremony, I thought I couldn't recognize her. She was looking that gorgeous because she had a mask as well on, so I just couldn't recognize her. This Toastmaster, any role given to her, takes it so seriously. A couple of weeks back, she was a grammarian, and she took the effort of getting videos from more than 8 to 9 Toastmasters internationally. Does anybody remember the word of the day that she... Yes. So that's the impact she has on people. She's mentored by Dr. Rajdeep Manwani. Her speech recently supports the theme. During the contest, she made a speech called Striking the Right Chord. That speech, if you recollect, it said how she came to balance between her career and her music. So please join me in welcoming the magnanimous Toastmaster Varsha.
Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. Good evening. As we have gathered here on a Women's Day special, let me start off with a question pertaining women. Now, I would like to call upon our gentleman who's visited our club after a long time. Ankit, please do the honors of, answering the question. A small question here. So, I'd like to know that you know about basic essentials of a woman's makeup.
Okay. Is it a table topic?
No. What is it that you know? You can probably go about it in an order. Or
That I know.
what are the
that
basic
I should have.
that you know?
That I know.
Go on, kid.
Motivation.
Makeup.
But I think more than a makeup, and it's not generalized only with the women. All of us should always have a smile as the best aesthetic.
Toastmasters, I was always taught by my mentor that I should either be prepared or I should know escape tricks. Now we all know what Ankit did, so he deserves a very big round of applause. Men are men, you see. So, to begin this day, we've come here, gathered here. I've made categories as to why we gather up for a Toastmasters meeting. You may vote for whichever category suits you the best. How many of us are here to escape shopping with our spouse, weekend shopping with our spouse? How many of us have come to the Toastmasters meeting just to escape the shopping part? Can I see the hands go up? We don't have your spouses here, so you can feel free to, Nobody, surprisingly. Puneeth Surana. How many of us are here to witness champion speakers and role takers, starting from our general evaluator, DTM Rajdeep? Whoa. We see 80% of the hands go up. Now, how many of us are here? Speeches come, speeches go, speakers come, speakers go. But what matters to us is snacks. How many of us are here to relish the yummy snacks that Sureka ma'am has sent to the club? Oh, we see both the hands go up from Vanita ma'am's side, and yes, right? So, all of us will have that one important thing that we focus on pertaining any event or any situation. But does that mean we have to give up on the other aspects? Because I saw a couple of you guys raising your hands. I saw a couple of you guys not raising your from how to balance if a lipstick goes off while drinking a cup of tea to altering the agenda with her day job. I think Smita Roshi deserves a huge round of applause. Coming to the final phase, we all know how critical women are. Rajdeep sir? He's the one who talks the most about it. Yes, so we have a critical evaluation segment for our own betterment. That is to see improvement in how we conduct meetings, how we improve ourselves with various roles we take. Now, to deal with the entire meeting, look into the proceedings and suggest as improvements, we have someone with us who's a mother of two. We all know that she's a part of Oracle. She's a senior Toastmaster. She's heading 165 plus clubs. She's Kerala and Karnataka are under her, but the best part of her is she loves food and she loves biryani. Who doesn't like biryani? And she's a huge fan of Rajnikant. So madam, hearty welcome to you to Bangalore Toastmasters Club. To assist her in today's role, we have Taggle team. So in the role of timer, we have Sanjana. Sanjana is an engineer student at BMS, and here she is to present what she does.
As the timer, it's my duty to time and record the duration of the entire meeting and its individual parts. For today's meeting, the speeches are 5 to 7 minutes in duration. At 5 minutes, I will hold up the green card, 6 minutes the yellow card, and 7 minutes the red card. Table topic speeches are from 1 to 2 minutes. At 1 minute, I will hold up the green card, and 1.5 I will hold up the yellow card, and 2 minutes the red card. At the end of the meeting, I will give my report to the general evaluator and submit to the club secretary in order to become a part of the permanent record.
Thank you, Sanjana. Now, in the role of accounter, we have Utkarsh, who is a content writer. Utkarsh, may I please request you to explain your role?
Good evening, my Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and my dear guests. The purpose of the R counter is to note words and sounds that are used as a crutch or a pause filler for anyone who speaks. During the meeting, I listen for overused words including and, well, but, so, and you know. I will also listen for filler sounds such as along with long pauses and short pauses. We will also note when a speaker repeats a word or phrase such as I, this means, and so on. At the end of the meeting, I'll report the number of times each speaker used these expressions. Please do not be magnanimous with your filler word usage, as I cannot be magnanimous with critiquing your errors. Thank you.
Thank you. While I was trying to gather some extra information about every role player so that we can all look into how different or unique the person is, I approached Kirtana to give me a few facts about the grammarian that I didn't know. Instantly, without having a second thought, she told me that Nazneen is a mother who looks like a daughter. So in the role of grammarian, we have Toastmaster Nazneen. Nazneen,
grammar is the logic of speech. Even for the logic is actually the grammar of reason. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can we do it better?
Good evening.
Thank you so much. As a grammarian, my role is to introduce the word of the day, that is magnanimous. And the meaning is generous, forgiving, especially towards your rival or someone who is less powerful than you. Example, Verity Prize should be magnanimous in victory. Kindly use the word of the day as much as possible because there are going to be goodies given to you, the one who uses the most number of times. I will also be noting down, just like the fox, how the fox listens with both the ears, the best usage of words and sentences, and not so very good usage of words and sentences. I'll report back to the general evaluator when called upon. Thank you so much.
most welcome. in the role of listener, we have Pratik. Pratik, may I please, our club's treasurer Pratik will be playing the role of a listener today. May I please request you to explain the guidelines.
Good evening, everyone. So, as a role of a listener, I would be listening to the interesting tidbits from our speakers today, and I'll pose the questions at the end of the meeting to check if you're all listening during the meeting. Thank you.
So without further ado, we're going to start the first segment, which is the prepared speech segment. We have Evaluator 1, who's one of the finest humorous speakers that the club has witnessed. He's also a fitness enthusiast. Let's give it up for Srijit, Toastmaster Srijit.
Innovative planning, level 1 project, second speech, that is, he received a feedback from his previous speech and he is trying to implement that feedback. So the timer please note 5 to 7 minutes. Thank you.
So we witnessed a lot of Galata here on the stage because the first speaker is someone who's the whole and soul for Galata podcast. He is an audio producer. So let's welcome Puneeth Surana for his speech titled Eyesight to Insight. Eyesight to Insight.
How many of you here have perfect vision, 20 by 20? Raise your hands. Okay, 3 of you. How many of you here have power? All of you? Wow. Now keep your hands raising. If you have power, if you're not wearing specs, that's okay, but if you have power. How many of you here have a power that is greater than -3? 1, 2, 3. That's it? 4, 5, 6. Okay. Interestingly, we aren't the only ones that have it. There are so many countries in the world where if you have a power above -3, you are legally blind. So we have about 7 of us legally blind in this hall, and a lot of the other ones heading towards it. And this isn't unique to this meeting room. We have about 20 crore Indians who wear spectacles and over 60 crore Indians that need spectacles. That's about 80 crores of us, about 61% of our population. How did we get here? Before I get to that, I'll tell you the day when I had the moment of enough is enough. I still remember it as if it was yesterday. I was trying to look for my specs after maybe waking up, and I was looking around and I could not find it. So I went across my house, everywhere where I thought I would have left it, and I checked the places, one by one after the other. And I realized I couldn't find it. So what did I do? I went again to each and every place, knowing in my head, I'm trying to find my specs, but hey, I was looking for it in here, but it's not here. And I'm still looking for it. Second round, also I could not find it. So then I had to ask my sister to support me. And then she was like, it's right on the table, on your system in front of your bed. And then just hit me that to find my spectacles, I needed spectacles. And that day, it was enough is enough. That led me down a tunnel hole, figuring out there has to be a solution. But before I get to the solution, how did about 80 crore of us get here? Interestingly, our eye power is very dynamic. It moves through the day. That means there are times of the day, usually early morning, where your eye power is crystal clear. It's the best possible eye power you have because your body is relaxed, your mind is clear, and you can see completely with full clarity. And as you go through the day, there are chances of it going down, going up, going down, depending on your energy level, depending on your work. So we have dynamic eye power. Now the bad part is that at times it dips. And as a kid, what happens is at times it dips during the school time. And most of us kids hate school. We hate a lot of things that happen when we are forced and blocked. Interestingly, now science understands that the reason we develop eye power, or the reason our eyes really lose its power, is because we want to blur out the things we don't want to see in life. We want to blur out an incident that happened. We want to blur out a particular experience that's happening right in front of us. It could be anything, a teacher scolding at you, your parents fighting in the night, or your poor grades, whatever could be a trigger point. And when enough trigger points come in, you start blurring out your eyes as a kid. And Dr. Jacob Lieberman has done a lot of studies around it if you want to look it up. Are there any optometrists in this house? No, okay, then I can move the technical babble out and just tell you what it is, like a normal man. Now what happens is, you have a dynamic eye power. On top of that, you have kids that have instances where they want to blur things out for a bit. And at times, they go for an eye checkup. Now what happens in an eye checkup is fascinating. You're put in a closed room with a bulb behind you or in front of you, and a projector, and a mirror in front of you at a 10 feet distance. And then you're supposed to answer a weird question, yes or no. I've gone there every year for years together, and I still was confused, is that a yes or is that a no? Was this better or was that better? Now the bad part of all of this is, we get an eye power at the end of it for the worst possible scenario, which is during a dark, dim lit situation, which most of us don't face unless we are professional truck drivers in the night. Anybody here? So most of us who wear specs really don't need that high power. Now when you wear that high power specs and you have dynamic power through the day, what happens is, your eyes, you have ciliary muscles here, they get locked up. Because now you have a crutch in front of you all the time, which locks up your ciliary muscles. Manjula, I want to keep an eye on the time also, you're too engrossed. You have your ciliary muscle that is locked up because of the specs. Now here's the weird thing about specs, right? They're not designed, now all of us have peripheral vision. But when you wear specs, it becomes tunnel vision. How does that happen? The center of the specs, this is the old specs that I've let gone off. The center of the specs is where the eye power is centralized. So to get that power that we are used to, we have to locate and train our eyes to look at the center of the specs. So from peripheral vision, all of us end up becoming tunnel vision. And because we have a dynamic eye power, now we start interrupting that dynamism. And we end up making it very static, very tunnel vision. Now what this does over an extended period of days is that it starts from a crutch, it ends up becoming an iron cast. Now you know when you get fractured and you wear an iron cast or you wear a plastering cast around you, for a really long time, you lose that arm. That's what's happening with our eyes. That is why every year as a kid, I would go to the same eye shop every year. How many of you went to the eye shop almost every year to get new spectacles? None of you? How many of you changed your spectacles multiple times over the years? See, one of the reasons why is that our spectacles are actually one of the reasons why our eye power keeps becoming worse and worse year after year. They are not solving a problem, they are creating a problem. That is why there is n number of research around pseudomyopia. You can look it up on Google Scholar. Now, this becomes even worse because once you start wearing spectacles, if there's any neuro-linguistic programming individuals here, you know we access our emotions through our eyes. When you're thinking about a specific emotion, your eyes move to a certain direction. And when you have tunnel vision, that stops. So emotionally, you become less of an individual. And once your emotions are blunted out, your expressions and the clarity that you see through things really start reducing. The other bit, which all of us have faced who wear spectacles, is we get addicted to spectacles. Realize we have the highest power of spectacles that we wear, but how many of you can't go through a day without spectacles? Like, I remember, even in my washroom I needed spectacles. And so all of us are addicted to our spectacles. Now, what is the journey to get out of it? Was the question that I went through when I was going through this rabbit hole. And maybe in my next speech, I'll be able to walk you through what all things I did to get on the journey of healing my eyes, getting back to that track of perfect vision. I'm not there yet, but I'm really progressing week after week. On that note, back to the Toastmaster of the day. Thank you.
Toastmaster Puneeth. That was very insightful, and I would definitely like to connect to you post the meeting, for I have eyesight too, eye power too. Moving on to the next speech, We have a Toastmaster, distinguished Toastmaster, who needs no introduction yet. I'm doing a formality of introducing him. He's a motivational speaker, TEDx speaker, spiritual enthusiast, and my mentor, distinguished Toastmaster, Dr. Rajdeep Manwani, who will be evaluated by Toastmaster, who is an enthusiast in sales and marketing. He has a rich amount of 16 plus years of experience in the domain. And let's give it up for Toastmaster Vaidyanathan to explain the concept.
Ladies and gentlemen, very good evening. The speaker today is attempting a project from the Pathways Bangalore. And the purpose of the project is to define how Toastmasters envision mentoring. And the second purpose being the mentor to share some aspect of a previous experience as a protege. I don't know how to pronounce it. P-R-O-T-E-G.
Protege.
So, time please note, the time is 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vaidya. DTM Rajdeep Manwani, the ultimate guru, DTM Rajdeep Manwani.
It was May 10th, 1996. I do not think there would have been anybody in this world who would have been more scared than me. I do not think there would have been anybody in this world who had more doubts and would have been more doubtful than me on that day. I do not think there would have been anybody in this world who would have been feeling so uncertain about their future that day. The reason was I had been rejected 16 times when I was attempting to get a job as a lecturer. And I had just come back from Mysore after receiving the gold medal from the governor of Karnataka, and I had just called up an individual who had met me in the university. When I called him up, I told him, "Sir, I want a job in a college." He said, "There's a small college called Jain College which has started up in VV-Puram in Bangalore. Why don't you try for it?" My heart sank. All the memories came in front of me. Everybody had told me the same thing. I kept the phone down. My mother was standing behind me. She said, "What happened, beta?" I said, "Mummy, I called up a person whom I met in Mysore University and he's telling me to try for the 17th time in a new college as a lecturer." She said, "Are you going to try?" I said, "No, Mama." She said, "Why?" I said, "I don't want to be humiliated again. I don't want to be rejected again, and I don't want to be told again and again that I'm blind and I cannot teach and I cannot write on the board and I cannot take attendance." My mother held my hand and told me something that day which changed my life. She told it in Hindi, but I'll translate it in English. She told me, "Beta, people can take away the spark from your eyes. Never let them take away the spark from your heart. बेटा आंखों से रोशनी बुझने देना पर दिल से रोशनी कभी मत बुझने देना." That day, my mother lit the spark of being the ultimate guru in my life. And what is mentorship? It's only that where a mentor lights that spark of empowerment, encouragement and enthusiasm in the heart of a mentee. Mentorship has been defined by the Harvard Business Review as a developmental partnership where one person gives perspective to another person for his holistic personal development. And let me look at this definition with three different aspects: partnership, perspective and holistic personal development. What my mother did that day was give me perspective. But let me look at the other aspect: holistic personal development. I remember I was in 7th standard and I used to sit and write homework. And my mother was a taskmaster. She used to say, "Complete your homework, write down this Hindi essay, complete these geography question and answers, and when you have finished, please call me." After I finished, I used to call her. My mother used to wear spectacles. She used to put on her spectacles. After reading my answers, I knew she wasn't happy Because always she used to duck her head and she used to move her head from left to right. This was before I lost my eyesight. And she used to say, Beta, I think you have to repeat this essay again. And I used to protest, no mama, Sangeeta disturbed me, my sister. No mama, I think so, it's nice. It's written well, no? And she used to tell me something which was very interesting. She used to tell me, Beta, for most people what you wrote is fine. But you are my son. And for being my son, this is not fine. You have to do something better. When you do the best, you will be the best. And I had to repeat my homework again. And I think so, those words, you are my son. And for most people it would have been okay. But for your being my son, you have to do something better. Urged me on to do better and better. And I topped my class continuously till I passed my post-graduation. The seeds of personal excellence were sowed to me at that time. If you do the best, you will be the best. And I also remember the way she used to develop my sister. She used to teach my sister, who was 7 years older than me, how to cook. And I remember the first thing which she used to do is demonstrate to her how to make dal in the kitchen. This is the way you add these leaves, this is the way you put the salt. The second step which she used to do is check in trouble. She told us, Beta, make the dal. If there is anything which the color goes wrong, then you come back and tell me. Third step which she used to do is, she used to delegate. Make the dal on your own. And when my sister used to make the dal, she used to go to the kitchen and just bend over, is she making it properly or not? And the fourth step, delegate. Whenever guests used to come, now guests are coming, you have to make the dal on your own, Beta. She used to tell my sister Sangeeta. Because the first 4 times, all the burnt dal, me and my father would have eaten. So this was the 4th time. And she taught her excellence, and my sister became one of the best cooks ever. All because of the personal excellence. The last step, partnership. My mother was a serious partner in my life. When I lost my eyesight, she used to sit every day reading out for me all the lessons. She was a Hindi medium student, but she went to my auntie, and she used to go over there and learn English words and come and read to me. For my exams, she sat till 1 o'clock in the night reading out lessons for me. She used to get up at 4 o'clock, fill water, make the dish, wash the dishes, go out, cook food. But untiringly, she stood like a rock of Gibraltar behind me throughout my formation days, reading out for me and making me the best, and even recording for me those audio cassettes in those old days with 45 minutes back and 45 minutes front. The rock of Gibraltar might be 423 meters strong, but my mother was stronger than that. So my mentor was my ultimate guru, my mother. A mentor like my mother came in my way every time. She came in my way when I was alone as a partner. She came in my way when I was falling to give me a new perspective. And finally, she came in my way when I was taking another path to make my personal development the best in the world. Thank you so much.
When there was a testimony presented by a wonder. Agreed? Yes. Thank you, DTM Rajdeep Madhwani. Now, it's the time to move for the last speech. This speaker is yet another testimony for the club. First DTM in Bangalore, former president. She's mentored many clubs, and her mentees are at a phase where they are evaluating other senior Toastmasters. Let's put our hands for DTM Sumitra Manmohan, who would be evaluated by the third evaluator, the founding president, the founding member of Bangalore Toastmasters, Robinson D'Souza, sir.
Here. The project is inspire your audience. This project requires the speaker to practice writing and present a speech that inspires you all. Though the time allotted is 5 to 7 minutes, the speaker has magnanimously requested just 1 minute more. Over to you.
DTM Sumitra Manmohan. Peace, a weapon. Peace, a weapon. DTM Sumitra Manmohan.
Thanks, Varsha, for that introduction. A donkey and a tiger got caught in an endless argument. The donkey said, "The grass is blue." The tiger insisted the grass is green. Unable to settle it, they went to the lion for arbitration. The lion heard the donkey and then said, "You say the grass is blue? Fine, it's blue." He looked at the tiger and said, "Your punishment is silence for 3 days." The tiger was taken aback, furious. He went to the lion and spoke to him in private. "Your Majesty, you know the reality. Why this punishment?" The lion looked at him. "You're a brave and intelligent being, and you got caught in an endless argument with an ass? Your punishment is to understand when ignorance screams, the intelligent move on." A very good evening, my dear friends. I hope we've all learned a big lesson today, haven't we? Yes. So, never argue with an idiot. Apart from such tips, today I'm going to share with you some more tips. Now, all of you in the workplace, at some time or the other, you felt your boss being partial to another team member, isn't it? You also feel he doesn't listen to your suggestions, and after all that pain and effort, he's there picking faults of the work you've done. Why does this happen? Some past experience of him, or someone has told you something about him, or worse still, you know those mindset of those typical equations, boss-employee, and that is what colors our interactions. They are like filters. You know, just like when we were kids, did we wear those tinted glasses and got so excited, everything looks pink? Remove the glasses and we are back to reality. So, the solution is remove your filters and treat every interaction independently with a positive and open mind. Now let's look at something else. You start a conversation with someone and then he says something different. He has a totally different standpoint. And just because he's different, we think he's wrong, right? What we need to do is try and understand it from his standpoint. In other words, they say, get into his shoes. That's empathy, my friends, empathy. But remember, you need to take off your shoes first. You know that story of the 6 blind men and you know how they saw the elephant differently? One said it's a huge wall, another a huge pan, a tree trunk, a snake, a spear and all that. And the person who asked them what they felt about the elephant thought they're so foolish. He didn't realize that they were visually impaired. So remember, empathy, friends. Now, third situation. Now, as Toastmasters, we all know that when we are crafting speeches, we have to appeal to the emotions, logic, and try and create pictures and appeal to other senses. Why? Because our audience is made of different people, right? Similarly, in our lives too, there are many people around us. They have different personalities, different thinking styles, and their cultural backgrounds are different. They're brought up differently, and hence the difference, right? So remember that different strokes for different folks. All we need to do is accept people as they are and adapt. Now, let's look at something else. Haven't you all been irritated by people's behaviors? Yes or no?
Yes.
And what they try to incite you, excite you, you become angry and you react, right? If you only take the trouble of understanding what triggers that behavior, it could be low self-esteem, it could be they just want attention and importance, or that they just want to dominate, or maybe someone has treated them badly at home. And therefore, we have to remain calm, not react. I had this training coordinator, and she took delight in exciting me. And those days I was so foolish I would get into useless arguments with her. Then I thought to myself, she is just trying to excite me. So let me stay calm and composed. So that's my fourth tip for you all. Don't react. Just be calm. And then coming to the last tip I want to share with all of you. You know, sometimes people are driven by extreme emotions. Could be anger, arrogance, ignorance, what you mean. But we are not able to get into a dialogue or explain to them why. This could be our boss. It could be some in-law. It could be the HR person in whose hands your promotion lies. Or it could be some person from whom we are trying to get business. So what do? Of course, one way is resort to meditation, right? We have to keep our feelings to ourselves, and that builds up. And then we get into tension, stress, diabetes, BP and whatnot. So what do? Expel those emotions. Try and get rid of those emotions. How, you may ask? Cultivate some friends whom you can trust and you can confide in them about these people. Or go home. Shut yourself in a room and scream your lungs out. I tell you, that brings real relief. Or want to have some fun? Make a huge poster of that person and take your child's pistol or gun. Shoot. And you see, it evokes laughter and that releases all the emotions. So these are the 5 tips. Let's recap. P is be positive, open-minded. Don't let your past experience color your interactions. Second, E, empathy. Third, accept people as they are. Adapt your communication and behavior according to their styles. Third one, be calm and composed. Don't react. And lastly, pick up some expelling technique. So there you have peace. And with peace, that's how we can cope with difficult and toxic people. They're not impossible to handle. Friends, go for it.
Thank you, DTM Sumitra Ma'am. Now we all know what to do. I think we'll have to create a lot of posters to have enough in our rooms, and we'll of course have pistols. So thank you on that tip, ma'am. So it's a reminder for all of you all to vote for the best speaker. The code would be 1315. With that, we'll have a short break for 10 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. We'll get to it straight away. Table topics, I just let you know for those guests who are here. Table topics is impromptu speaking. You'll have 2 minutes to speak about a topic that I give you. At the end of 1 minute for today, at the end of 1 minute, we'll have a green card, 1.5 we'll have a yellow card, and at 2 minutes, we'll have a red card. Typical table topics rules. Now, as far as the theme is concerned, we'll be having multiple to symbolize or mark Women's Day is where each of you is going to come on stage is going to play the lady of the house. You're going to be the lady of the house, and you're going to personify yourself as the lady of the house and tell us about what you're thinking or how you would react to a particular situation. Clear? The first topic that I have for all of you, or the speaker at least, is going to be you are the wife deciding the breakfast menu for the week. You're the wife deciding the breakfast menu for the week, and to talk about it, I request Alan Arana.
Since I'm the wife deciding the menu for the week, I would be actually okay with any menu because now there are many options. First day, Zomato. Second day, Swiggy. Third day, Dunzo. Now by then the husband would say, listen, you are not doing anything. Everything is coming delivered, you're just opening it. So for that, we have ready to eat meals, right? Have you seen that MTR make it in 2 minutes, right? So those are very, very good options. One of those days, also being Women's Day, I would definitely give that privilege of making a meal to my husband on that day. And I would make him feel really good about it. And mind you, no matter how good, bad it is, I will appreciate him wholeheartedly because for the rest, that is the 364 days, that's the appreciation that I look forward to receiving from.
I was wondering where you were going, but in the end, you ended on a very sensitive note there, Alan. Moving on, the next topic that we have is imagine you're the wife persuading your husband and children to keep the house clean. Imagine you're the wife persuading your husband and children to keep the house clean. And to talk about it, I would request Toastmaster Richard D'Souza.
Tidiness shows how you are within yourself. Tidiness is not for others, but tidiness is the reflection of one. As the light enters a person, how he reflects. Therefore, and for everyone, you should think about your duties. Here, this house is belongs to each and everyone. Therefore, and you have learned during pandemic, servants are not available. And even whenever they were available, we have driven them, saying that you would bring the pandemic. Therefore, now, ultimately, each one of us come to our own rescue. Therefore, and don't be under the impression that the lady of the house, she is there for doing all things highly, but ensure that you don't leave behind anything to the house of lady of the house to comment over to the table.
Toastmaster Richard. I really felt you were being genuinely nice to your husband Richard there. Thank you so much for that. And moving on, we have the next topic. You're the mother convincing the toddler to complete his meal. You're a mother convincing your toddler to complete his meal. And to talk about personify himself as the mother, we have Toastmaster Lokesh.
Thank you, Toastmaster. It's a really difficult topic because I've never been with kids. So no niece, no nephews. So really, really difficult. So what would I do to convince my the toddler to have the meal? So usually kids, they like to have some toys. So maybe sort of have a story where we are incorporating having the meal along with the toys. Because I remember Kelvin and Pops. So he had a tiger as a toy and he used to take it with him everywhere. So same way, maybe incorporate a story where the toy and the toddler, both of them are eating together, eating each other, and so forth. So that would be one tactics which I would use to use a toy. And second would be to tell a story. And I remember that younger days, there were stories when my mom says that now say and in goes a spoon. So these are the few tactics I would use, and with that overview.
Thanks for improvisation there, Lokesh. Thanks for that. And as our next speaker, this next speaker is going to personify herself as the lady of the house, and she is talking to the maid who is appearing after 3 days of unexplained absence. The maid is here after 3 days of absence, unexplained. How would you handle her? And to talk about it, we have Toastmaster Nitin.
Thank you, Toastmaster. Look, being called by the champion Toastmaster, table topic master, is an honor to me. Very magnanimous of you to call me and give me this topic. The subject is about a maid who's come to the house after 3 days. And I'm sure whether you're a housewife or a husband, you are angry. And we have not heard speech by Sumitra because the spy techniques is not known. The first thing as a housewife I would do is shout, obviously, at her. I'm not going to be calm, quiet. I'm not going to take her photo and shoot and all that. I'm going to be in all my wits and ask her, what's happening? 3 days, no information. How dare you take this liberty? In fact, it's happened. And the standard answers are, my kid was not well, somebody died, nth time. This is the standard answer, you know for sure. And now they're trying to take advantage of the compassion that you might have, which with servants is never there. And then show the anger and tell them next time you come like this, that is the last time you come, and I already have somebody lined up for the work. And I think that works many times. And this is as a housewife I would do to a maid servant who habitually comes, and the nth time she comes late on 3 days. Thank you.
Clearly, Toastmaster Nitin hasn't listened to Toastmaster Sumitra. Well, this was the first segment, and if you ask me where the inspiration was, I sat my mother down and asked her, what are the problems that you face? I really wanted to think of stable topics this week. So that was the inspiration behind this. Moving on, we'll have something that connects to the theme of today. Finding important things in your life doesn't mean that you have to give up the other important things in your life. And the first topic under the segment would be money and simplicity. Money and simplicity. And to talk about it, I'll request Toastmaster Sudha.
Good evening, the Toastmasters and guests.
Good evening.
Money and simplicity, both are very, very important for our life. Of course, how much our money you have, simplicity you should have your own. Then only you can enjoy your peaceful life. If you have too much money and if you don't have simplicity and you want to enjoy the hi-fi life, you will not be able to reach to the lowest people. If, of course, at the same time, if you don't have money also, it's very difficult. Having money and enjoying the simplicity of life, this is what I learned from the childhood to till date. With these two, I'm able to enjoy my life. Apart from this, I'm making others who are surrounding me also happy. That's it.
Toastmasters, nice to know that you have experienced this in your childhood and you grew up with simplicity and money, of course. Moving on, we'll have the next topic under the segment, the day job and your passion. The day job and your passion, how do you handle both? Toastmaster Ganesh Bhai.
Day job and passion. Both are not mutually exclusive. I think they can coexist together. I remember last year at the fag end, I had met Vivek over coffee, and he was pushing me, hey, start writing the vlogs. And he has been saying it for so long, and somehow I was tired of saying no to him. So I said, fine, at least to keep him happy, let me start it. And then I started doing it. First blog, I think I published last year, I remember June 11, today's March 11. So, and every week on Friday, I'll publish it. No matter what, sunshine or rain, 5 o'clock in the evening, I'll switch off everything, 1 hour or 2 hours, sit peacefully and start doing it. And I realized over a period of time that, if you want to do something, there's time, plenty of time. Just that you got to build in that discipline. One, you got to build discipline. Second, you should be passionate about it. Beyond a point, I think you can't have people monitoring. I guess when you are passionate from within, you will make the time. And this whole experience of being consistent in blogging for last, I think this today will be the 40th week, has made me realize that it is important to pick and choose some of those worthy habits and pursue it along with your day job. And the beauty is, if you do well in one aspect, it will have a rub-off effect on the other. So if you are a good writer, then you tend to become a good speaker as well. And if you're a good speaker, then you tend to be a good professional. So it's important, pick and choose few worthy pursuits and obsess over it and chase it as if your life depends on it, because more often than not, it does. Thank you.
Clearly, this thoughts were flowing where they today. Toastmaster Ganesh, we'd definitely like to know the address of your blog. Definitely want to read some of them. Moving on, things get slightly more interesting. The next topic is diabetes and sugar. Diabetes and sugar, how are they mutually important? Let's have Toastmaster Kamlesh.
You have touched to the right chord of the person, because I'm a diabetic, but once upon a time I have told that I reached to the level of 580, and it was beyond expectation, right? And before that, I was consuming so much of sweets without any innovation, and the day I was diagnosed that my sugar level is reached to the 580, and pathologist was recommending that you have to go to the hospital immediately. Anything could happen, right? And I was very determined that I am not going to the hospital. The next day, I consulted a doctor, and the doctor was recommending that you have to take the insulin for the whole life, right? But after 10-15 days, I took the insulin, and things changed very fast. I determined that no medicine will work unless if I am determined. And that had happened after 1 month. My sugar level turned down to the 120 level. And I believe that many times it happens that this year I have to stop taking the sugar completely. And if there is a sweetness like Surika ma'am, definitely I will not resist. But definitely there is a determination within ourselves and everything. There is always sugar, and there is a innovation that happens in everybody's life, that whether I should do or whether we should not do. But you have to decide yourself that what is right for you, which is not right for right now, but for the future as well, for the future for your family. And that is where there is a balance you have to make. And when you make a balance, definitely your life will be much, much better. Thank you, and over to you.
Kamlesh, you are a sweet person. No pun intended. We wish you good luck in your journey with diabetes. Anyway, moving on, the final topic in this segment. The final topic in this segment, I reiterate to you, finding one important thing does not mean you have to give up on the other. The final topic here is wife and girlfriend. And to talk about it, we have Toastmaster Joseph Paul.
Toastmasters, dear guest, and I think the table topic master chose me because he thought I was not an expert at it. But let me tell you that you can have a wife and a girlfriend at the same time if you have both the person rolled into one. So that's exactly the relationship I have with my wife, because she's not only a wife but a friend and the best girlfriend that I can have. So that's when it's like you share many things as a partner. That's where the role of a wife comes in. And another aspect of our relationship is wherein we exchange our thoughts and views and be very frank, like a friend would be to another friend. So I think that plays a big role in keeping our relationship very healthy and peaceful, because that's where the role of the girlfriend comes in. Because sometimes when we are as husband and wife, there could be a lot of frictions, but then when you look at it as a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship and how you manage things with a girlfriend, I think that settles the disputes. So I think to have a blissful and wonderful, long, happy, peaceful married life, I think you need to look at your wife as a girlfriend. And this I would give us an advice as a well-married man to some of our newly married friends here, especially here. And so I think troubles as well as challenges keep coming. It will never end, but then it's how you deal with it, how you look at it. And the most important thing in this is one of the persons, one amongst these persons will have to take the first step in taking a step backwards. And that's generally the husband or the boyfriend who has to do it. That's a tip that I would give for a peaceful, happy married life. All the very best. Thank you.
Well, I felt the topic would be a groovy, but Toastmaster Joseph clearly did a groovy on all of us. That was a wonderful take on the topic, Toastmaster Joseph. Thanks a lot for that. Quick time check. Toastmasters in the awarding time. Yeah, done? Okay. That brings us to the end of an energetic table topic session. Thanks a lot for participating and debating.
Thank you, Toastmaster Alok. We had creative topics. We gave us all a room to think on our feet, of course. We've had problems. We've had eyesight problems. We've had diabetes. We've had girlfriend-wife problems, but we've also had solutions to it. Now it's the time for us to look for solutions for the betterment of the club, for the betterment of our meetings. Like mentioned earlier, it's a great opportunity for us. It's a great opportunity for us to learn as we have to learn. They say that with great power comes great responsibilities. But here is an example to show that with great power comes great humility as well. Welcoming DTM Vanitha Rangarajan for the general.
insane amount of pressure that Bangalore Toastmasters puts on a role taker from outside. So much hype on that introduction, and if I don't perform my very best, I'm going to be so disappointed in addition to your disappointment. So let's see how today goes. Now, my role as a general evaluator actually began even before the meeting began. I did not make it here on time to evaluate your first person, so I had the opportunity of the person who's recording the video to share that with me during the break. And so I'm going to be evaluating everyone section-wise and in the order of your appearance. One thing that I'd like for you to do is, if this is a male member that I'm evaluating and a female member, anybody, just pick up whomever it is from the room, go and give them a fist pump or a high five. So, okay, whatever works for the COVID era. I just want some movement here. So if I'm talking about Chaitra, I'd like one male member, the first one to get up, and go and give her a high five as soon as I finish my evaluation. I just want to try something new and we've been sitting too long. Is that okay with all of you? Yes. Give me a thumbs up if you're okay with this. I'm seeing live audience, but no reaction. All right, fantastic. So first things first, I love the fact that Chaitra as the Sergeant Accounts has evolved from her Jan 11th meeting to her March 11th meeting. Why am I saying Jan 11th meeting? In her Jan 11th meeting, which was an earlier recording that I happened to see by chance, she had talked about how she came here for the ground rules that she was stating. She talked about be careful about talking about sensitive topics like sex, religion, and politics. You should know, as an organization pioneering in public speaking domain, Toastmasters never tells us to not talk about sex, religion, or politics. It's not there in any of our club handbook or a rule book. It's just an Indian way of saying, just be mindful. So that Chaitra, today, when she delivered the ground rules, she was very cognizant of the fact that she was talking to an audience in person and also online. And the same Chaitra, this time she said, be mindful of the topics that you come here and speak. And that's an amazing growth for a Sergeant Accounts. Now, because Hannah and Smita have called me here, I clearly have a purpose more than just acknowledging that unique thing that you do. One thing that we need to get familiar with when we are calling out this is that offline, online often being confused. So while Chaitra was addressing to the online audience, she said to the folks offline, and then she gave 2 hints for how to mute your device or something. I know we'll get there, but it's a hybrid setup. So just be mindful of the words that you use offline, online, get used to that one. And that's one recommendation that I have. I specifically wanted one recommendation on the board. I'm not sure who fills this up. So 2 things that I'd like to recommend. It's one of the best boards that I've seen in a Toastmaster meeting. Everything that I want to see is there. And so any member who's walking in has a good idea about the sequence, good idea about the role takers and everything here. It's a fantastic board. And the highlight of that board is that it's written so legibly, it's not scribbled like I do in my diary. So kudos to whoever wrote the board. One thing that I'd like to inform is maybe we can edit the board during the break if you've seen some changes, because I was seeing a change in the speaker and order and things like that. So keep the board relevant at all times, even during the meeting. We have the opportunity of the break. So whoever's doing that board, you can do that. And just like how every role taker here got stage time and was so difficult for them to come, and clearly there's some amount of work or preparation, there is one more person whose name I'd like to be included in the board. This person here. Would you tell me your name, please?
Manjunath.
Manjunath here with that recording tool and the constant talking between the device that he's connecting to the Zoom participants and ensuring that there's great camera angle. This is a significant role that we play in a hybrid meeting. Board, and let's make sure that anyone who's sitting on that video recording device during a hybrid meeting gets highlighted as well. Where's the fist pump, ladies? How come you're just sitting here? One of you walk up and have to Vasha, you only do it once, okay? Remember? Have you? Oh, very convenient. All right, thank you so much for that.
So Sanjana for both. She's done.
Okay. Great job there, Sanjana. Thanks so much for catching up with that fist pump. All right, the second person that walked in, and okay, so just while we're talking at the logistics, Sureka ma'am, wherever you are, thank you so much. Because it was amazing. I was actually coming to Bangalore Toastmasters only for the snacks, let me be really honest. And because you beautifully remember me, Women's Day, I was like, okay, I'm not saying no, Hannah, please tell me what time is it, I'll make that work. Thank you for the snacks, they were delicious. I liked how there was a great flavor. There's not just one, but there was two. So please thanks, Sureka ma'am, on my behalf. Fist pump to her in the air. The next person that came in here was our president, Toastmaster Hannah. Now, I think the thing that I really liked about it is when she talked about the team, she talked about two women leaders having opposite takes on the topic. One person who said you can't do it all, one person who said can do it all, and she said irrespective of which category you believe in or you fall, and then she gave her speech. I thought that was very inclusive as a president to do, and that was a thing that stood out for me. The other thing that I personally appreciate of is this whole Women's Day thing is such a sham. We shouldn't be even having a day to celebrate women because we don't need that one day where you're suddenly making us goddesses and the rest of the day we are slogging it out in the kitchen. I really like the fact that Hannah took the time to thank the men who make our lives less miserable or more supportive. So the men getting the thanks was one unique thing that I saw, and it's probably just like how it should be. Thanking each other. You do know that there is a International Men's Day. You are aware? Yes. Apparently it's on November 19th. So I hope that Bangalore Toastmasters will celebrate that day as well. And on that day, remember to thank the women who's making your lives easy. So great gesture there. I'm going to give one feedback that could be done different, and I saw Hannah here predominantly talking with clasped hands. In my opinion, when you're having clasped hands, either you're praying or you're nervous. So you might want to avoid it. You're the president, like everything here, you're the coolest person in the room. So maybe the clasped hands gesture could be avoided the next time you speak. The introduction for a Toastmaster of the Day, I thought was amazing because you tied it out to what she had done before, and it really gave a perspective. It was giving that high of, okay, I'm going to wait and watch who's coming. I mean, I think it was Varsha, but it gave a good idea of who's coming, and I think you did that job really well. A huge round of applause to our president. Right, so the next person that came up was our secretary, Kirtana. It was, when she was delivering that report, it's like I was in the last meeting, 31314. I knew exactly what happened there. And that's the essence of the minutes of the meeting. I thought you had done that job really well. Now, if I were to just let you think of something creative that you can do, so it's not just like a secretary coming and reading reports or the minutes. What you could do is, while you were acknowledging the winners of the previous meeting, and if they're in the room, you could probably just ask them to stand and 1 minute of applause to the winners of the previous meeting. So you're encouraged to come back the next meeting also, even when you don't have a role to play. That's one thing that I might like to just include for you making an already perfect report, a little bit creative on the delivery side. A huge round of applause to our secretary. All right, thank you so much. I'm going to push Varsha's evaluation right to the end. So there's some suspense for you out there. Let's now begin with our evaluations. Now, the first speaker that came here for his speech, Eyesight to Insight, let's call his evaluator. There's so much pressure on how funny he has to be because you already called him humor champion and all of that. So let's see how Toastmaster Srijit felt about Toastmaster Puneeth.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Make it a little more light. Good evening, everyone. You all know why Kattappa killed Bahubali, right? Yeah, because we saw Bahubali too. So we all have the same strategy, I think, our used. for next speech. Again, I'll come to your speech, like title of your speech, very catchy, very beautifully done. And second is your topic. Topic itself, you told 61% of Indians need spectacles. Actually, in Malayalam, they say, "Kannu poyale kanninte value," which means if you lose the eyesight, then only you realize the value of eyes. So that is very apt for our audience, the topic. So which is I really liked, and your gestures, your clarity, your vocal variety, everything. You are a good speaker. Your way of storytelling, all I liked, and it was your personal experience. So which shows how interested you are on this topic, how authentically you spoke about this topic, which is really convincing for all of us. That again, very well done. If you ask me a suggestion, you could have made your conclusion a little bit interesting, like the same question, why did Katapa kill Mouth? Something like that. I don't know what is that question. Where did I keep my spectacles? Or something like that. If you keep that, I think it would have made a little more interesting for all the audience. And they will be not only, I would have come for your next speech to see that. Otherwise, I really enjoyed your speech and looking forward for your, specifically for your next speech. Thank you.
All right, to evaluate our second speaker, Dr. Rajdeep Manwani, let's call Toastmaster Vaidyanathan here to tell us how he thought about.
Dear Toastmasters, welcome guests, and the speaker Rajdeep. Very good evening. The speaker today attempted a project on mentoring. The objectives of the project are twofold. One is to share some aspects of previous experience as a protege, and the second one is how Toastmasters envision mentoring. So let us see how exactly the speaker fared in accomplishing the project guidelines. To begin with, let me talk about the areas where he did exceptionally well. One, he spoke about what mentoring is all about. And he also spoke about 3 specific areas related to mentoring, which are partnership, perspective, and personal experience or excellence. And he also backed these 3 specific areas by personal examples, right from the way in which his mother taught his sister to cook dal and how she helped Rajdeep in reading and writing. So job brilliantly done. And he also highlighted the very, very important role, how his mother played the role of a mentor. So overall, the first objective fully met, which is to narrate some aspects of his personal experience as a protege. So full job, so full marks to Rajdeep in accomplishing objective number 1. And let us see exactly the area where he could have improved upon. The second objective of this particular project is to see how Toastmasters envision mentoring. And that's where Rajdeep, you missed the plot, I feel. You could have spoken about what mentoring is all about in a Toastmasters kind of a setup. In this particular speech, you also could have spoken about how your mentor has helped you in becoming a better version of yourself as a speaker, and could have spoken about one particular example. If you had used a personal example, this is what I was when I walked into Toastmaster setup for the very first time. And just because of the kind of mentoring I had over the period of the last many years, and I grew as a speaker, and if I'm able to speak very coherently in front of a larger audience like this, it's purely because of the support that I received from a mentor. And that could have lent a lot of credence to the way in which you speak was delivered. So otherwise, Rajdeep, it was it's a brilliant speech which was delivered with full of energy and enthusiasm. Thanks for highlighting the importance of mentoring. You are a wonderful speaker. Look forward to hear from you very often here at Bangalore Toastmasters. With that, it's over to G.
For the third speaker that we have, distinguished Toastmaster Sumitra, let's find out what Toastmaster Robinson D'Souza thought about her speech. Over to you, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, General and good evening, everyone present here, particularly Mr. Ramesh. She presented a speech, Project Inspire Your Audience. Now, I have one question to all of you. Did she inspire you?
Yes.
True?
Yes.
Yeah. Ankit, what do you say? How she inspired you?
She spoke about
Yeah.
So I remember peace and full form of all the letters. Sorry, what each letter meant.
Yeah, I understand.
And
Acronym, peace.
yes, the acronym.
Positive, empathy. Yeah. Please, thank you very much. One gentleman, you said she inspired you.
Yes, and the beginning she explained about monkey and a tiger, right? So that a lot of times happens.
Donkey has donkey and tiger are
But the ultimate thing is like whatever the message she gave, right? When you speak about the people, that sometimes it is better to keep silent.
Okay, Kiran,
So
you
that is what
are taking my time. Yeah. Any other person here? This side? Yeah, please. You can sit down.
Never argue with an idiot.
Pardon?
Never argue with an
Idiot, yeah. You remember. So, madam, they give the examples, inspire your audience. Yes. See, this project I can tell you at the beginning, if she appeared to talk at you, instead interacting with you, she would have failed. But she succeeded. She didn't talk. She went on interacting with, asking you questions, isn't it? Then she told us the stories. Donkey, tiger, and lion. Never argue with an idiot. Tinted glasses, the 6 blind men, and explaining the element, training coordinator, etc. But one aspect I want to tell you about inspiring. No doubt you gave us acronym, peace, positive, empathy, accept people as they are, calm and comfort, expel bad emotions. Yeah. You, in a sense, what I feel was gave us advice what to do when these things happen. But let me share you what happened in my life. After my graduation, I got a job as a second-grade stenographer. Right from the college I went to. There was a magistrate, it was in a board, and the magistrate was B.N. Mallikarjun. First day he shouted at me, "You don't know how to take down shorthand. You take it down on the right hand." Because my first day I didn't know. I knew shorthand, I passed shorthand in fact, but I didn't know the court language. Within 2 months, he called me. He said, he had written a report about me to the High Court, said that Robinson is going to be an asset to the judiciary. Second, he said, Mr. D'Souza, you do law like me. If you do law, you can become a magistrate like me. That one sentence, if you do law, you can become a magistrate like me. My parents were uneducated. They didn't know what to do. They didn't have a way to show me where to go. But this man, immediately that day itself, I started learning law through correspondence course. And what happened was, I became a judicial master like him. And he may not have, when he said, may not have accepted that this is going to happen. When he was posted from law secretary as High Court judge, I was posted as the law secretary. I relieved him. And I sat on the same chair where my mentor, that person who inspired me, sat. Like that, there must have been several stories, hundreds of stories in your life which inspired me. That would have killed all of them. Because it would have been hate. That's my solution.
Alright, so before I begin with my general evaluation of the speakers and the role takers and everything, I think it's club tradition for you to follow that link that Chaitra has now posted in your group. The code that you have to use is 1315. Please vote for your best evaluator. Give me a thumbs up as and when you're getting done, so I know when to begin my general evaluation section. Let's take 10 more seconds. Otherwise, we're sitting here for dinner. Don't think it's allowed in the club. So please hurry up and fill up your evaluation. Your voting, sorry. Thank you. Thumbs up when you're done. So I know that you're done. All right, fantastic. So remember the high five or the fist pump for the person that I'm going to call. Now it's going to be a combination of the speaker and the evaluator. So two people will get up depending on the gender of the people that I'm evaluating. So the first combination that we saw was Puneeth, his speech being evaluated by Srijit. What I really liked in Srijit's evaluation is that he was such a easy guy on Puneeth. Could have been a little more critical, but he just was so wowed by the speaker. And so I think he was Mr. Nice himself. I love the recommendations that Srijit had given. He was very specific in his recommendation. He also gave an example of how the speaker could attempt whatever that he had recommended in terms of the closing. He had given an idea for how you could do this better. One thing that I would like Srijit to have probably announced to us, and this is only for this L1 P2 speech, which requires feedback from the earlier speech. Before even hearing that speaker, I would like to know what was the feedback that he got from the previous speech. So you as an audience, you generate an entire audience to be better listeners and check and evaluate to see whether he was actually meeting that objective according to them. So that's one recommendation that I have is specific to this speech and the objective, the project, because you're implementing feedback. So the second thing that I wanted, and that's for basically Puneeth, is that while he said that you could have left the audience high and dry, because it's a research project, I would have really liked to have had you do the call to action or give out something at this speech itself, instead of asking me to come again to Bangalore Toastmasters to listen to that part 2 of your speech. Just, I mean, it's a recommendation again. If you like this format, then go for it. But this is just something that I want to recommend. Also, there was I think the numbers, Srijit slightly got it wrong. He said about 60% of Indians, but what Puneeth was saying was actually 60 crore Indians, which is only 30% of our population right now of 1.4 billion. So maybe the math was wrong, but that just tells as an evaluator, you have to be an extremely sharp listener as well. So one tip for you.
60% is correct.
You said 60 crore Indians in your speech?
80 crore plus 20 crore. 80 crore or 130 crore. 61% is correct.
60 crore Indians of one particular place. There were two places in which you had mentioned the bifurcation, and 60, when he said 60% of the Indians. How is 60 crores by 140?
60 crores need sex, 20 crores already have sex. So 80 crores out of 130 crores.
All right, I apologize, then my bad, because I only took the 60 by 140 and clearly the math was not adding. But next, when we are talking about the percentages, my recommendation is to stick to the same numbers that you did instead of doing the conversions. I will take that as a learning for myself to be a little more attentive, especially when I'm being critical as a feedback. Thank you so much for that. A round of applause to both the speaker and the evaluator. Can I say the second speaker and the evaluator? Oh my God, I'm already going to be evaluating Dr. Rajdeep. I thought what Vaidyanathan did very strongly was to give that his personal opinion on how the speech could have been done better. I like the fact that he had announced that this is just what I felt on what you could have done differently, and it's totally okay if he had not done it. So I like that you highlighted that you could have brought it to a Toastmaster relevance, and I should agree with you because I wanted to know who is this mentor of this master mentor. So when I came here, I was looking for a name in the Toastmaster circle, which Dr. Rajdeep will take, and I'd be like, oh wow, I can't believe that this master mentor has a mentor. But again, yes, the mother fit in really well. And parts of the speech that I loved was how you gave examples. You took that mentoring definition and you gave examples of how all three aspects of that mentoring definition, your mother fitted in really well. One thing that was very glaring for me, and it's probably just the choice of words, is that when you mentioned the Rock of Gibraltar, you talked about how 423 meters strong. My mother was stronger. So the Rock of Gibraltar, you were talking about the length of the rock or how big that rock was or how big that space was, but somehow that heaviness did not connect for me. So maybe better sentence formation in just that one, because I was visualizing and then I got my visual imagery kind of got disturbed with that. So something was amiss there, and so I'll let you figure out what you could have done differently so that laymen can also understand, lay women can understand that part of it really well. I thought that there was a fabulous combination of both. The speaker was so top-notch and the evaluator being as critical as he could get with the speaker like that. Fantastic round of applause for both of them. And go and give 5 Excellent. All right, the third speaker and evaluator combo. Again, such a treat to watch. The first DTM in Bangalore being evaluated by one of our founding members of Toastmasters in the country, and that was amazing. Now, the speaker 3, things that really stood out for me in Sumitra's speech was, I've always heard, take off your shoes. How many times have you heard? Or no, not take off your shoes, I'm sorry, the other one. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes is such a common thing that we heard. I love the fact that she added that one element. First, remember to take off your shoes, because most likely we're already with a prejudiced notion, or you already have an opinion about it, but unlearn and then try to fit in was a beautiful thing that I will take back. So the next time I say, put yourself in somebody's shoes, I will remember Sumitra, and I will tell, also remember to take your own shoes off before you get there. That was a great point there. I love the fact that there was a very beautiful gesture of attention you did. That really caught my attention, so that was great. The next thing that I loved was you used the phrase of color your, and color was such an apt thing for the filters that we use. Now, if I may add something to what Robinson had mentioned, I felt that as part of your speech where you said, you have a boss, or you have felt this about your boss. Instead of saying you felt, you're trying to generalize this entire statement for the audience. Maybe if you had said, we have all had a boss where we felt a certain way about it. Just saying that we instead of the you and pointing to the audience just makes it whole lot of inclusive, saying you have faced that yourself. It's not like you're coming and preaching to someone else. So that choice of word could have been done differently. Now, I love the fact that our evaluator here engaged with the audience. First of all, you have only 2 to 3 minutes, and then you're asking for audience response. I thought it was very brave of you. I like the fact that you had, you were as attentive, because even with that audience engagement, that means as an evaluator, you need to be fully present. One recommendation that I'd like for you to have, in case anyone wants to try this, calling out audience reaction and wanting this, you want to specify how many words you want them to say. For example, you could have said, tell me 2 words. If you found her inspiring, tell me 2 words that relates to how she was inspiring. So that way, they are not rattling off, and you don't have to say, hey, you're taking my time, please keep quiet. I mean, you only asked him for his recommendation, or you're only telling that. So if you are time constrained, you have a time constraint, and you're trying something new, you only tell off like 1 word. Give me that 1 word that what you stood out from the speech, or something like that. So the audience also know exactly how much I should speak and not get, like next time he will not hesitate to put his hand up, but now he might, right? Like what will Robinson say the next time I go? So that just makes it a little more easy for us to get feedback. So this was what I observed from this combination of a speaker and evaluator. I consider par excellence. Let's give them a huge round of applause. And try something new in this club, because you called me all the way. I spent $300 cab, took 1.5 hours to get here late by 5 minutes. So I want to make my time worth it. And so I want to recommend that we start a tradition as a club, which is evaluating our topic speakers. How many of you are okay for it in this audience? Clearly it's going to shoot time. I'm not saying majority, so should I just go ahead and give topic speakers who might want to come again on the side and talk to me? So let me try that again, right? I will not do it if I don't get a majority hands up. Would we like to do table topics evaluations in the club going forward? Slightly more hands, still not there yet. All right, I'm going to move ahead until I see the hands. I'm not going to spend more time on it. So let's move on to the role takers, the tag L role takers who are helping me. And for that, let's get our DTM student who's been the most attentive person, our timer, to tell us how we have done on this run today. Now then,
the meeting started 2 minutes late. Sorry for that. Coming to the prepared speech, Toastmaster Puneeth exceeded the speech by 27 seconds. Toastmaster Sumitra ma'am, DTM Sumitra ma'am exceeded the speech by 45 seconds. DTM Rajdeep Manwani sir exceeded the speech by 4 seconds. Evaluator Robin sir exceeded the evaluation by 1 minute. Coming to the table topics, Toastmaster Jose Paul exceeded the speech by 14 seconds.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Considering that Jose Paul talked about that beautiful partnership with his wife, made a googly to the table topics masters googly, we just discount that exceeded that. All right, so as a timer, what we could do better, and this is not just for Sanjana or anybody who comes in here, for you to make a note, is that the first time when you talk about it, first of all you role takers, all 4 of you, this is your opportunity to speak without referring to notes, because that description that you saw is fixed. It's not changing meeting after meeting. So we have gotten so used to our gadgets or so stuck with crutches like this that we always automatically think that without that I will make a mistake. So I would encourage all of you, I saw most of you, all 4 of you doing it, maybe not our listener alone who did not use the notes. So try and memorize that and just come up and say that on your own. If you make a mistake, it's fine. No one's eating up anyone the last time I checked. So make that mistake, but be confident about explaining your role without having to refer notes. That's how you do better even in the tag L roles. That's the only speaking opportunity you get during the entire first half. You want to make that count. Show cards when you are telling. So I will be showing this at the beginning time, the green time, the yellow and the green, instead of just reading from the book. I noticed that you had missed out evaluation. How much time for the evaluation? 1 to 2 minutes. So that is something that you will have to add in your script in case it's not there. One of the things that I would like for just everybody who takes the timer role, how about we use that break and we put in the time taken by the speakers and the evaluators, and somewhere you can fit in, you're already writing the board. If you can fit in a table for this table topic speakers and just have time mentioned there, then it's easy for everyone to reference, and you can only say these are the speakers who got qualified or disqualified and just leave it at that instead of specifying the time. Since we have that board handy for us, that's just one recommendation that I like to give. Who's going to come from this side and give our timer Sanjana a fist bump? Come on. Fantastic work. Okay, so let's call our counter the content writer. Let's check how we have done on the first words today. What should I admit? Bad joke that fell flat in an audience here. Santosh Mommy, the grammarian, for today, please come and tell us how have we impressed you on the word front.
Congratulations to all the speakers, including myself. Before we get positive and open-minded, partnership, holistic personal development, get into his shoes, different strokes for different folks, arbitration, never argue with an idiot. You cannot invest enough in communication, eyesight to insight. Pseudo, my dear, people can take away the spark from your eyes, but never let them take it away from your heart. Not so good, you say. Up to you, over to you is the right one. Do her evening swimming. She can go for swimming in the evening. It's iron, not iron. Me and my father, you always put yourself last. My father and I. Rock of Gibraltar itself says it all. We don't have to say meters, height, length, breadth, nothing. It's enough. It's honor, not honor. It's our, it's not our. Suggestions, if I may say, there's a thin line between pronunciation and accent, which is keep it in mind. Always put yourself last and use and before and not a. We can refrain from using colloquial language when we are speaking. Word of the day was used by our President Hannah twice, Varsha once, Utkarsh twice, Robinson Sir once, Nazni once. So Utkarsh, this is the gift for you. So it's not just Women's Day, it's Men's Day also today. It's a request for you and our Madam President.
Thank you so much for that. I do want to remind Utkarsh and Anna, sharing is caring, but all right, I love the fact that she was so very well prepared. If you had noticed, she never called out names. She just said things that she really liked in the meeting, the words that she liked. And the ones who had used those words would know that the corrections were for them. So that was a great practice that you followed right there. One recommendation that I have is, let me just check out in this audience. How many of you know Verity Price? Okay, ulta question. Now turn back and look. How many of you don't know who Verity Price is? As me turn back and look at the number of hands that's come up. So when you use a name, which you don't know if it's that popular a name here, you might want to say Verity Price, the current world champion of public speaking, and then say the sentence that you were saying, so that then they know she needs to be magnanimous in spite of her win or something like that. Otherwise, a Verity Price just went half blank on the audience. So just be aware of the examples that you give and make sure that they are absolutely relatable, especially when a club that has more than 20, 30 guests. Don't use a Toastmaster relevance at all. Don't even pick a club member or anyone else to give us an example, because you want to keep it generic and everyone else understands that. That's just one recommendation for anybody who does the grammarian role. Fantastic role out here. A round of applause and applause. Toastmaster Prateek to find out how our active listening skills have been tonight. Over to you.
How many Toastmasters clubs exist currently?
149.
15,800.
15,800. What is DTM Rajdeep Manwani's sister's thing?
Sangeeta.
What is the legal vision activity few countries to be termed as legally blind?
Ministry.
Perfect. How many blogs has Ganesh Pai written?
40.
Which actors quoted "Be greedy, be greedy"?
Priyanka Chopra.
Let's thank our men who make our life easy. Who quoted?
Hannah.
Back to you.
Thank you so much. We made two statements, one with Priyanka Chopra's quote and one with Hannah's quote. We made both of them on that celebrity level. Good thinking there. I would like for you to have announced to the audience how you like these answers to be called out, just to get like a format in place. Because I'm a newcomer, there would be newcomers. Do you raise hands or just shout out and make it like a fun thing? Is something that you might want to introduce before you start calling out this thing. And also the purpose, anything that you try and do, any role that you, especially the 4 roles, try and say purpose of why you do that role, because it's to increase your active listening skills during the meeting, to increase your vocabulary, to make sure that we're mindful of time, and ensure that we don't have crutch words that disturb the listening. So just one tip there. If you can tell why we are having that exercise, then we'll be able to relate to it outside of the Toastmasters circles as well. Fantastic job for Prateek. Would we have somebody from here? Come in. I like this very short. Okay, so I've done with my evaluations here, but I did have a couple of comments. I'm going to talk about the Toastmaster of the day, the table topics master, and I'm allowed to do that, I guess. So one of the things that you could have done is when you were announcing the table topics, you could have asked her to show cards or told that cards will be shown. I love the fact that you were actively listening to every single speaker, because after every single speaker, you wrapped up, you tied up, and you gave like your opinion or your comments, which meant this role has been played to the team. The whole idea was not just giving topics, because the topics were prepared. But this impromptu bit about listening to them and telling your opinion, I think you did that very well as a table topics master. I love the fact that you had mixed team, so there was a lot of variety, it was not monotonous or anything. So I like the fact that you had these topics were very good. I'm going to get to that first round of topics in a bit, but remember you called me, so I'm just going to come here and do my part and go. I love the fact that these speakers had ample opportunity to establish creativity. So not one topic was similar, and you were able to have variety in the audience. Okay, so last time that I'm going to check, how many of you think I can evaluate table topic speakers? All right. I am going to tell one sentence about each of them. I love the fact that Alan brought in creativity in that topic. He went on to saying, one day of Zomato. How many of you did not expect that coming at all? That's pretty much everyone in the room, and that's exactly what table topics is meant for. Don't say the obvious. Don't state anything which somebody is expecting. You go out of the blue and you jolt them, and now I have to listen to you as a speaker, and you did that exactly well. The second speaker, I love the fact that he had an amazing message. Richard, you had mentioned about how in the end we all try to be self-sufficient. It does not matter who we are, but COVID taught us that lesson. I love the call to action that you had, and you made it so gender neutral. I want to thank you for that. The third speaker, when we talked about Lokesh. Okay, but I can't see Lokesh, so I'm keeping that there. I like how Nitin, do we have Nitin here? Nitin had used 2 great things in impromptu speaking. First thing, anybody wants to guess?
Mentioning speakers.
Is a candidate on his the experience he's recently experienced.
It's very difficult to use a callback from a previous speaker, but he did that beautifully. I noticed that he had a callback to the earlier speaker. And the second thing, word of the day. He came here and told the word of the day. So I'm sure we have a happy grammarian out here. I like the fact that one of the best usages of pause in today's meeting I saw was when he said, that pause was so effective, when he said about this maid saying, and a relative died for the nth time. He had that pause and it evoked so much laughter. Clearly, I'm not so good at it, but I thought that was such a moment of perfect pause being used to evoke laughter, and I think you did that well. Sujata, I loved how you talked about your childhood and how this topic is so prevalent and how it's so important for every one of us to be conscious, I would like for you to have used few more seconds and talk to us about a certain experience instead of generalizing the story. You come here, we want to listen to your story, right? So maybe the next time you want to come and give a personal story, whatever fit into that equation for you. Ganesh, I thought was, if I was the grammarian, he'd take this. Is Ganesh here?
No.
Okay, not going to waste my time. Kamlesh, I saw that in the speech that you had, it was so credible, it was an authentic speech that you gave, and I saw one clean aspect of that, which was determination. You sounded determined when you were talking about the speech, and I think that went very well. Jose Paul has been my favorite speaker in this, not favorite because of the way he spoke, but because of his content. A wife and a girlfriend topic, so sexist, but he changed that to making it about romance and friendship and partnership and keeping it alive and having that girlfriend as a friend and not something, like how we make sexy jokes, sexist jokes about. So thank you for the googly that you gave to our table topics master. Now, all of these people who had table topics, attempted table topics stand up. So the whole lot of you get fist bumps from whoever is close by. Come on, table topic speaker, stand up. Table topics master included, stand up. So you all know who's getting fist bumps now. It's a thing to cheer everybody. You're coming to the club meetings after 2 years. Get up and move it. Okay, fantastic. A round of applause as well. I've known Varsha for a while, and I'm hoping that she and I will continue to be friends. Is that a promise before I go away? Let me just start with things that I was completely bowled over. For the first 30 minutes of the meeting, she had absolute no notes. As a Toastmaster of the day, I would have been an absolute nervous wreck if I had to remember so many introductions. She did it so effortlessly, not one time going back. But she knew exactly what to say for each. I thought you were extremely prepared. You were super engaging with the audience. The first interaction itself that she had you coming in here and interacting. The next thing that I really liked about what Masha had done was that the Ralph C's medley introduction was aligned to the theme. I like how she had attempted that newly and giving a hint about the Toastmasters International. Now, one thing that you could do differently and consistently is that introductions was only for the first half hour. After that you came more like digital notes again, right? So the whole idea of doing this impromptu or extempore is you use that time sitting here, memorize the next few lines, come back without the phone and then say it like how you were bindas in the beginning. How is that bindas introductions in the beginning and you know what, I didn't have time for mugging up the best, so let me just call it out. You need some more preparation there. Now, to her and our table topics master. Now, you have to remember that I'm coming from a place of wanting gender diversity, wanting to break the bias, wanting equality, whatever, feminism, whatever you want to say. And I want to call out pseudo-feminism. Are we ready for this? So, it bothers me so much that even as a woman, the only question that she thought was engaging to an audience was to ask what goes into a woman's handbag or makeup list. Are we really reduced to that element of beauty out there? Couldn't have the questions been, name any 5 cricketers of the women's Indian team, or 5 women that you have met in Toastmasters who have impressed you, 5 movie actresses who now are equally paid like men. We are talking about progression, and our progression starts with how we want to associate women with. For somebody who does not wear makeup at all, and for somebody who thought that even Varsha is asking makeup related questions. And the second thing was shopping. Why? Who's even asking men to take women shopping anymore? Don't go, sit at home, Don't go to shopping with your wives and then come and complain and make a joke about it or be made fun about it. These things have to stop. In my opinion, I think we're done with this whole, my wife takes 1 year for shopping or 1 whole day for shopping and the memes about it and all of that. It's just too sexist. I'm pretty sure, and I know tons of men who spend more time in front of the mirror than an average of two friends that I know. I really do. I know tons of men who cry more than a couple of women that I know. So it's no longer that. It's not okay that we talk about these shopping jokes. And now on that line, and I guess Alok knows where I'm getting at, on the same lines, I wanted to just ask that whole first part of the table topics, would that have been any more sexist? The whole idea, so you were telling us here, you could have just asked a man to come and deal with the situation instead of telling a man to impersonate a woman and talk about the situation. Wouldn't you have liked for our first speaker here, Alan, to come and just say, if you were deciding the menu, come and tell us how you do it. Why did you tell Alan to put himself in the wife's shoe, which meant you already decided that the menu deciding part is for the women? There, it was so sexist. All the questions that followed. Women have to take care of the children, so how do you keep your house clean? Women have to take care of the kids being, eating properly or whatever. And the maid, why is it the women's problem? So if you were just asked a man and how he had dealt with the maid, or a man and how he would have dealt with a toddler that is eating meals, that would have done the trick itself, because you're not used to it now. Start getting used to it. But instead, the insinuation, if I could use that word, how it's anyway the woman's job, but just try it. See how it is to be in the woman's role is how it appeared to me. So maybe you could be more mindful about things like this. And so with this itself, I want to say a special thank you to Alan, because he not only brought creativity out of it, he said if you're expecting a woman to come and give a menu, then women are allowed to say, go to Zomato with yourself, or Swiggy it yourself, or better still get that MTR 2 minutes to eat. So don't take that for granted that you need that food to be cooked and kept on that table, was one thing. The second person that I wanted to say in this experience itself was Joe's call that I mentioned, how this wife and girlfriend thing could have beautifully played like that partnership thing. It was so refreshing to hear that. And yes, so these were two things. It stood out for me because we are supposed to be talking about progression, but here progression starts with breaking this bias, right? Where you think it's the woman's thing to do. And there was another speaker who said, we're thanking them for all these 364 days that they do something for us. Cooking, it was in the context of cooking. Why? Why don't celebrate that one day of Women's Day if you're anyway expecting her to do all of this 365 days? Instead, how about you do that juggle right now? How about you shift roles? Take turns. If not take turns and do it every day, at least once in 4 days, once in a week or something like that. Somewhere it needs to start. And I thought calling it out would be apt for an audience like this, because you in turn go to 500 people, and the next time you're at least mindful of this bias that we have, it will definitely make a Women's Day really a Women's Day without it being on March 8th. So that's one thing that I had for everyone. I want to say how amazing it has been planned as a meeting. I felt that the life in Toastmasters has come back. And thank you, Bangalore Toastmasters Club, for doing this ahead of all the other clubs who are still meeting online in that comfort zone of them because it's just too easy. Thank you for planning this meeting. Thank you, every single member of the audience who have shown up to this meeting. Clearly, you are the reason why Toastmasters is thriving and Toastmasters will continue to change lives. Thank you for the opportunity for being a gentleman.
That was a fabulous general evaluation, DTM Rajdeep. I think we'll have to have this quite often. It's always better to have general evaluators coming from somewhere out of the club so that we can improvise as a club and learn new things. Agreed?
Yeah.
On that note, I have a small confession. Varita, I had other questions written to it due to time constraints. I brought in a bag full of Kit Kats to give away. I had made notes on aeronautical advancements and a couple of women who progressed in other arenas too, but then due to time constraints, I didn't bring that up. But I am completely with you on those questions, and you know, the way we normalize it, I think that gave a new perspective to us. And that was a key takeaway to our Women's Day meet. And yes, that is real progression. With that, thanking Smita for having provided me with this wonderful opportunity. And okay, Chaitra is reminding me to announce the vote code 1315, and it's time for us to vote for the remaining categories. We'll have about 10 to 15 seconds to do that. With that, back to Madam President Hannah.
As you all vote, I'd like to know the first-time guests. If you can just raise your hand. Yes, if you can please come out, mention your name, and how did you hear about the Bangalore Toastmasters?
So, a very good evening to everyone. I first would like to thank to Kamlesh, who is my colleague, who having me here. So I'm very wonderful. The session gives me a lot of energy and meeting the co-pastor with whom I have interacted with. So, especially with the ma'am, forget the name, the energy he speaks and the way she interacts. More than her words, her action is giving so much energy to me. So for that, thank you, ma'am. And I'm here the first time with the open mind. And I've not heard before Toastmaster. I heard somewhere, I mean, in somewhere in the YouTube or something, but I've never seen the video. So we have coming here. I was having a lunch with my colleague. So was telling me about the Toastmaster that with my success, a lot of shares goes to Toastmaster. So I'm happy to hear from him, and
thank you so much.
Actually, how I came to know is like I just saw a YouTube video 1 month back. Okay. And it was so organized, the way of approach, maybe introduction or what do you call it? Evaluation was there. In that. So I was very enthusiastic to come on. And today I was very happy to see eyesight. That was
Thank you so much.
The Toastmasters, I was looking for an opportunity actually quite some time to meet and make socialize. In 2 years has been a challenging times within 4 walls, taking calls, making meetings only from offline. I think I was looking for an opportunity, and this was I saw that actually within the last 3 hours, so much I learned, so much to actually interact with, and so much to speak about, get the information as well. And it's been wonderful. The experience has been amazing for me. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity.
My name is Ramesh and I had heard about Toastmasters in my college, and I always wanted to join. Yours finally have made enough time because I wanted to join since the last 1 year. So I'm happy and I learned a lot from all the sessions about eyesight. Put my specs out there. I look forward to joining.
Yeah, first time guests.
Good evening, everyone. I am Shashank Bhatt. So I'm known Toastmasters for a long time now. My friends and colleagues are also Toastmasters. but I somehow had not find time to actually join and be part of. But now that I knew that Rajdeep was also here, I think I've met him in 2013. I don't know if he remembers that when I was the president of Trinity College, he was the chief guest for a national conference, and I was his escort throughout the event. So as soon as I saw his name, I cancelled all my plans and said, "Let's come here and be with all of you." And I hope that I'll be back soon and join the. Thank you.
My name is Kaushal. Been on the guest group for quite some time now, but I couldn't make it to the physical class, the workshop here. So I'm very much interested in public speaking, but I would have not really, probably have not had the opportunity to speak much. So I want to learn from here. And it's so much of learning here, like every person is something new.
Now, I'll give the announcements for the next week very quickly. Speechcraft starts this Sunday, 13th of March. And another thing is the renewals. Request all of you to please renew your membership. And the next week, that is 18th of March, we may not be having the meeting here. It may be on a Sunday, but we will let you know through the week. And in the guest group as well, we'll keep you informed. Maybe by Tuesday or Wednesday, we will go. Yes. So now we go ahead with the awards. The best table topic speaker goes to the person who's so beautifully gelled, wife and girlfriend. The best travel team player goes to Toastmaster Utkarsh Joshi. Best role taker award goes to DTM Rajdeep. Best evaluator goes to Toastmaster Vaiganathan. And the best speaker award goes to DTM Dr. Rajdeep.